I had finished a film, The Last Will and Testament of Dr. Mabuse, in which I put into the mouth of Mabuse, when he steps into the body of another man, all the Nazi slogans. And the yellow shirts came. They didn't have the black shirts in these days, with two guns right and left, and said, Mr. Goebbels will confiscate this film. I was very haughty and said, if you think you can confiscate a film of Fritz Lang in Berlin, do it. All right, they did it. Now I had some trouble. The trouble was that the company for which I made this film had spent some money. And I tried to find a way to help them, and thought maybe that an interview with Goebbels would help, so that the confiscation would taken off. So one day I got an invitation, meaning an order, to arrive at the Ministry of Propaganda. Now you must understand one thing in these days. You have to have a stiff collar, a not a tuxedo, cutaway.
Cutaway coat.
A vest, striped trousers, which was in its way already very uncomfortable. And I walked in to the Ministry of Propaganda, and immediately at the door was a big desk. And again, 4 people in yellow shirts with the guns. What do you want? I said, here's an invitation from the Minister of Propaganda who wants to talk with me. Well, they looked at it and then they said, look, you go around the corner and go along this corridor. And then you come to another corridor, and then you go there. Okay. And so I walked this corridor. It was not very agreeable. The floor were great squares of cement. The walls were blank, no picture, no inscriptions, and every step echoed constantly from the wall and back and so on. It was disagreeable. So I come to the end of the corridor and another corridor, and there is the same thing. Again a desk, again 4 people with guns in yellow shirts, the same procedure. Let's go in this direction. It happened 3 times. Finally, I came to a round room. It was very nice, and I didn't know what to do. So suddenly one of the door opens, and out came a man, most polite, and said, Mr. Lang, one moment. The minister will be ready in a second. And in reality, in a minute or minute and a half, he opens the door again and said, come in. I walked in. It was a tremendous big room, and the one side at least 4 or 5 big windows where you could look outside. Goebbels sat behind a desk, very, very far away. He had black trousers and one of these yellow-green shirts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something very funny. Goebbels could turn on friendliness like a faucet. He came out with stretched hands, said, Mr. Lang, I'm so very, very happy to see you here. Come sit down. Okay, I sat down. And now I expected that he would talk to me. Why I had to put in the mouth of a criminal certain slogans of the Third Reich.
What were the slogans? Do you remember? What was one of them?
Hitler has said, We have, no, not we. The average citizen has to destroy the authorities which he created. And then, on the debacle, on the rest, we will create our realm of 1,000 years. And I had Mabuse saying exactly the same, only, and when everything is destroyed, on this rest, I will create my realm of 1,000 years of crime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I expected that the minister would say something, but he didn't. So I was waiting, and he spoke, and suddenly he said, "The Führer has seen your films." He didn't say which one.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, and he has said, this is the man who will give us the National Socialistic film. In this moment, to tell you the truth, I was wet all over my body. Perspiration broke out everything. I looked out of the window, and there was, I don't know how you say it in English, you know, a big post.
Yes.
Like you have it here with lamps on, and there was a 3-side clock.
Yes.
And you could watch the clock. And I said, how do I get out of here?
To yourself?
To myself, no, naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I said to Goebbels, so help me God. But in essence, I said, I'm tickled pink. And I was looking at the hands of the clock, and they moved, and my only idea was, how do I get out of here? Get to the bank, get some money out of the bank, and leave Germany. And I said, Herr Minister, I don't know if you know one thing. My father comes from an old peasant family,
mm-hmm.
100 years back. My mother was born Catholic, but her parents were Jewish. So again he turned on his charm and said, Mr. Lang, we decide who is an Aryan. I said, thank you. What should I say? What could I say? I didn't want it to end in a concentration camp. We want you to become the leader of the German film. Therefore, I said to him, think about my mother, you know?
Yes. What year was this, by the way?
33, beginning of 33.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, look, there's a scene when the professor who runs the insane asylum in which Mabuse died is driving home. And suddenly near him appears Mabuse and tells him certain things. It's wrong. That's not good. And I listened. And he said, the professor has to be killed by the rage of the audience. Oh, Herr Minister, I said, that is a wonderful idea. I thought it stinks to high heaven, but what should I have said? Well, we talked and talked and talked. And finally the clock came to a point where I saw it was too late to go to the bank. Then, with all his charm, he said, goodbye. I will call you in 1 or 2 days. Wait for me. I said, Herr Minister, I'm most grateful and most honored, blah, 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 and walked.